On April 15th, the city of Boston and Massachusetts were thrust into the spotlight due to the despicable acts of two individuals. In the aftermath, we saw the emergence of heroism, leadership, and selflessness of everyday people who personified the spirit of Boston Strong. We are honored to have one of those special people with us today. His leadership and compassion, along with an approach to law enforcement that includes a combination of advanced technology and community policing, have put him on the top of his field, not just in recent weeks, but in the 30 years that I've known him. I remember when I was a member of Congress, I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work with him when he was the police chief in Lowell, where he ran a fabulous department, rising through the ranks to detective and captain before becoming superintendent. He nearly doubled the size of the Lowell police force and oversaw a 60% reduction in major crime. And since 2006, he's demonstrated that same commitment to the Boston Police Department, where he's continued to stress his thoughtful and bold approaches to making neighborhoods safer and people's lives better. His efforts have resulted in an annual decrease in serious crime in Boston and improved quality of life for its citizens. He has brought his expertise to our campus to help students in our criminal justice department integrate what they've learned in the classroom with his real-life work experience. Collaborating with our faculty on a number of initiatives, providing true experiential advice to our administrators, faculty, staff, and students on the complexity of policing. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." This individual is indeed an excellent role model for all of us, especially our graduates, because he demonstrates how good leaders need not only to have the best skills in their professions, but also have to have strong character and the ability to employ both in a time of crisis. Ed Davis has integrity, he's transparent, and every time he goes into work to do his job, he wants to do the right thing. This man displayed the greatest of these traits following the attack in the Boston Marathon, where he was a calming, inspirational symbol of strength when we needed it most. He kept the public informed. He worked masterfully with his professional partnerships. He expressed sympathy for those who were hurt and pride for those who helped. He displayed a calm determination that justice would be served. And because of him, it will be. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my friend, our 2013 commencement speaker, Boston Police Commissioner Edward F. Davis III.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I accept that and this incredible honor on behalf of all of the men and women who responded that day, emergency personnel from police, fire, and EMS, medical personnel who staffed the tents and responded in ambulances, and also to the community who saved lives, activating themselves and providing so much care to people who otherwise would have perished. Thank you, Chancellor Meehan. As always, you're more than generous in your comments when it comes to our relationship. You've been a longtime friend, and to witness the transformational changes, nearly $500 million in economic development that have occurred here at UMass Lowell under your leadership is inspirational and remarkable. Thank you for inviting me here today, and thank you to UMass President Robert Corrett, UMass Board of Trustees Chairman Henry Thomas III, and other members of the Board of Trustees. I'm honored to be sitting among such distinguished company. Nancy Donahue and Dick Donahue were always friends to me during my time here in Lowell, and it's great to see her here whenever I return. Mrs. Donahue, along with Elisa and Mark Saab, are living examples of how you can live within a community and continue to help that community grow and develop. It's what distinguishes Lowell from many other cities in this nation. I acknowledge as well my fellow speaker, Harish Hyundai, who has literally brought light into the lives of more than 500,000 people, and also his beautiful wife and daughter, who I met last night. Congratulations to you. I also want to acknowledge today's distinguished alumni, the late Gary Musica, who was a leader in sales and marketing, as well as Bernard Shapiro. Hello? As well as Bernard Shapiro, a beloved university professor. And as I spoke to him earlier today, I can add a veteran of many Boston marathons, a remarkable man who ran the marathon this year. Most of all, I want to applaud the efforts of the more than 3,000 graduates seated before me, whose achievements should be a source of exuberance and pride for all of your loved ones here in attendance to support you today. I know that personally because my daughter Caitlin graduates tomorrow from another university who shall remain nameless. But I'd like to congratulate you all as a parent of a graduate this year, and that comes from me and my wife Jane, who's in the audience somewhere. Hello, Jane. Many of you believe that when you leave this arena today with your UMass Lowell diploma in hand, your days of learning are over. I have some sobering news for you. You're only just getting started. If you take away nothing else from my remarks today, you must realize that every single day for the rest of your life is going to provide a learning opportunity for you. Whether you continue your studies to attain advanced degrees here at UMass Lowell, whether you embark upon a professional career, whether you decide to travel the world, or whether you start a family, you're going to spend the rest of your life learning. And that's not a bad thing. Chancellor Meehan was kind to me in his remarks, but I should note he also has been one of the people that I was fortunate enough to learn from as my career developed. He was a staunch friend of the Lowell Police Department during my time as superintendent of that police force. And those things that happened here, the increase in personnel, the crime rate that went down, none of that would have been possible had it not been for his vigorous support in the Congress and the funding that came out of Washington during the Clinton years. It was a wonderful time to be a police chief here in this great city. As a chancellor referenced, by virtue of my position as commissioner of the Boston Police Department, I was the person that fate happened to thrust into the global spotlight because of the attacks on the Boston Marathon finish line on Boylston Street. Some of you here today recognize me because you saw me on the news in the days after those attacks. I'm here to tell you that virtually every decision I made from the moment I first learned about the explosions that Monday afternoon was based on the totality of my learned life experiences that have spanned more than 3 decades since I first graduated with my college degree. It was the numerous opportunities I took advantage of to learn from people I worked alongside, or the events that occurred during my career that have become teachable moments in my life. For example, 8 years ago, I had the honor of traveling to London after that city was victimized by the terrorist bombings of the Tube. I met with Metropolitan Police Commissioner Sir Ian Blair. During that meeting, bomb experts from his department brought a copy of the bomb that was used in the Tube to the conference table. They let us see it and see how it worked and understand the devastation that it would cause if it went off. On Monday, April 15th, shortly after 3 p.m., as I stood in the middle of the crisis on Boylston Street, I hearkened back to those lessons, remembering conversations about backpack bombs. And as I watched Police Sergeant Chris Conley conduct painstaking and perilous task of meticulously examining the hundreds of backpacks and packages left abandoned on Boylston Street after the bombing, I was thankful that I had paid attention to the lessons of London, and thankful for the courage of Sergeant Conley and his staff. In 2008, I traveled to Northern Ireland and met with Chief Constable Sir Hugh Ord and asked for insight into managing the threat of terrorism, information that I have included in all of my department's plannings in subsequent years for all the events that we've had in Boston. Planning that may come in handy again if the Bruins continue on their path of success, by the way. Last July, I traveled to Amman, Jordan, and met with police chiefs from Israel, Jordan, and Palestine on enhancing security and preventing crime in a changing world. Clearly, we live today in a changing world that truly affects us here at home. But I don't want you to think you have to travel all over the world to learn lessons that can help you shape your decisions for the rest of your life. Mostly, the greatest lessons can be learned are right here in your own backyard. I spent nearly 30 years of my life working here in Lowell for the Lowell Police Department, and it was here that I learned invaluable lessons about connecting with my community and paying attention to the small things that affect people's lives. I worked alongside courageous and dedicated officers who risked their lives for the safety of this community. I learned lessons on a late-night shift about service to the community. I learned lessons in the narcotics unit about tactics and law, and it was the beginning of a lifelong realization that police must do more than simply arrest. I made many friends among the neighbors and business community here, and it's been terrific reconnecting with so many of them at last night's Commencement Eve celebration and here again today. So many of the decisions I made in my career were influenced by lessons I learned from other people, including friends from high school and college or in the formative years of my professional career. That same template is going to hold true for you as well. Many of the relationships you have here at UMass Lowell, both with your classmates and your professors, will stay with you in one form or another for years to come. You've had exceptional instructors during your time here at UMass Lowell, and I guarantee you that at some point in your lives, probably when you were completely not expecting it, you will hearken back to some pearl of wisdom that was imparted on you during one of your classes here. But your education never ends, ever. You need to approach every single day of your life as stepping out into a global classroom, an opportunity to take something new away from the interactions you have with your loved ones, with your friends, and with your coworkers. Learning doesn't only occur in a classroom, doesn't always occur in a classroom either. It happens everywhere you go, so keep an open mind, open to discovering new ways to see the world around you. It's been more than a month since the attacks at the Boston Marathon, and I've continually been asked what I learned from that afternoon and the ensuing days. The lessons are myriad. I learned to think the unthinkable. I learned that the most horrific of circumstances can produce the most inspirational and heroic of actions, not just by one single person, but by hundreds of them. Heroes like police officer Tom Barrett, who seconds after the explosion saved the life of a victim who was on fire by putting that fire out with his hands. Heroes like Jeff Bowman of Chelmsford, one of your fellow students here at UMass Lowell, who despite losing both of his legs in the explosion, was able to communicate valuable information to investigators. Or heroes like Carlos Arredondo, the man you've seen in the cowboy hat, that helped treat several wounded victims, who lifted Jeff Bowman into a wheelchair and rushed him to medical personnel. Heroes like my colleague, Superintendent Bill Evans, who was by my side less than an hour after running the marathon himself, and then barely slept for days, catching an occasional nap on a cot he set up in his office, because he didn't want to step away from his officers or the operation until the attackers were caught. I learned about how many friends I have out there when the going gets tough, and I want to thanks for the support that I received from leaders like my mayor, Thomas Menino, Governor Deval Patrick, and President Barack Obama, who dedicated all of the services of the United States government to this investigation. Not to mention the legion of brother law enforcement personnel from agencies such as the FBI, the ATF, ICE, the National Guard, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Attorney General's Office, and our Massachusetts partners, including the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, Massachusetts State Police, and police departments from Boston's neighboring towns, including the city of Lowell. I learned about the wonderful stories of the lives of 4 people taken from us. Martin Richard, 8 years old. Lou Lindsay, a graduate student at BU. Crystal Campbell, and MIT police officer Sean Collier. Names that must never be forgotten to history. I learned about how giving and generous people can be, not just in the more than $30 million raised for the One Fund, but in the little gestures, like in the case of the waitstaff at the Lenox Hotel in Boston, which was commandeered for use as our operational command post. All of the staff there took all of the tips they collected during the entire week from the police that were in the hotel and donated them completely to the One Fund of Boston. Remarkable. I learned that Twitter can be your best friend to help you get the word out to a lot of people all at once during an emergency. It's not just for dating. I learned that Starbucks decaf coffee is not your best friend when you've gone without sleep for more than 40 hours. a lesson many of you will probably realize during your finals week. I learned that when asked, the entire city of Boston, not to mention the neighboring communities of Watertown, Belmont, Cambridge, and Newton, will cooperate with and honor a request to help us catch a bad guy. Those are the kind of lessons that emerge from this tragedy for me. And those are the ones that make me realize that, like all of you, I still have so much more to learn about this world and from everyone I'm surrounded by. And I'm here to announce today that I'm still not done learning the lessons of that Monday afternoon. I'm proud to announce that multiple reviews of the week are about to commence. One of them, a review of all of the city's response services, will be conducted under the leadership of Mayor Tom Menino in his Office of Emergency Management. The other review I can announce today will be a best practice review funded by our colleagues from the Office of Community-Oriented Police Services with the Department of Justice. I fervently hope that each of the reviews will help us learn more about our emergency services and will allow us to better prepare for other large-scale events in the future, although hopefully we'll never have to experience something like that. By now, many of you have heard of the catchphrase, Boston Strong. That emerged as a symbol of strength, not just for the city of Boston, but for everyone impacted by this tragedy. The phrase went viral on social media sites and has subsequently been emblazoned on T-shirts, wristbands, electronic bulletin boards, and just about everywhere. You may also have seen variations of the phrase, such as Watertown Strong, or for the community when the manhunt ended, or Cochran Strong on behalf of the courageous Cochran family of Lowell who had multiple victims in the attacks. Lately, the phrase has even been applied to our sports teams like Bruins Strong. Many of you know I'm an avid follower of your champion hockey team here at UMass Lowell, and I know this year all of you with good reason stood Riverhawk Strong. I'm here to remind you, and every single one of you, that you are strong. So many of you have overcome hardships in your own lives that have not stopped you on your path to success. They just became another roadblock you had to hurdle to get here today to receive your degree. Uncertainty is a certainty. The next 10 years of your life will be very different from what you expect them to be. But your education prepares you to face the challenges. Hundreds of you attain these degrees while working full-time jobs. Others among you manage to fit in all your classes at the same time as you've been raising a family. This is not an easy road for so many of you. The long hours, late nights, endless term papers, and lecture halls may have come to a close with this chapter of your life. But the personal growth all of you have experienced during your time here at UMass Lowell has only served to make you stronger as a person. You can all proclaim that I am strong because indeed you are. I am confident that given the chance, all of you are capable of achieving greatness. So many of the nearly 80,000 alumni of this university are scattered to the four corners of the world, but many of them continue to give back to the place where they got their start. And they stand UMass Lowell strong. I hope you too will find a way to continue to give back to this university and to your community. In closing, I would like to again thank President Corrett, Chairman Thomas, and the University Board of Trustees, and my friend Chancellor Meehan for all that I've been honored with here today. This is really an incredible honor and something I never expected in my lifetime. But it is amazing what good has come out of this terrible tragedy. Thank you and enjoy this historic day in your lives.